Hey everybody, Jake here with TrendSpider to go over the broad market ETFs into July 22nd, which is Monday. And we will be looking at SPY, the Qs, and XBI, as well as checking out Bitcoin, as there were some pretty interesting things that went off on our alert system. Not necessarily our alerts alerting people, but just how I was setting up some trendline alerts and a lot of those went off. So it's just a cool example of how to use the system on the trendline side of things. So going into SPY on the weekly side of the chart, we can see here that we've got definitely some divergence on the price action versus the MACD and the relative strength index. And so for me, what I'm going to do to get ready into next week to possibly watch for a further breakdown is go to the multi-factor alert here, and I'll do breakdown further, expires in 30 days. And what I'll do here is I'll just look for the condition, which is the weekly indicator, and this would be the MACD signal, which is just the histogram, is less than the constant value of 0. And then I'm also going to add the weekly RSI, and that is the, where is that? That's the 10 here, has crossed down through the constant level of, let's say, 55. So whenever these two things break down further, I will get the alert when both of these occur. So I didn't have to do any coding on this side. It was all just easy interface, just less than, greater than, that type of thing. So now once I've created this alert, I'll be alerted when this histogram bar goes below 0 and the RSI breaks down below 55. On the raindrop side of things, we can see here on the Friday raindrop candle that there was what we call a flip, which means that all of the volume from the beginning of the day started off at the top of the day's range, and then throughout the day into the second half of the day, you can see that volume switching over and actually creating new lows into the close here. And I wouldn't say necessarily the close, but we know that this volume created new lows because there is no volume profile on the left here. So definitely something to keep in mind. I created an alert right here on the SMA 20. We have not tested this area since we broke out through this same moving average on June 6th. So it'll be interesting to see if this will hold or if we get the alert that this broke down. You can create these alerts on any moving average. So this is just the moving average that I personally watch and what I'll be watching into next week. If you want to use whatever Bollinger Band, exponential moving average, you can just right click, create the alert, and it's that easy. So moving on into the Qs, we've got a pretty similar chart here. Still got the divergence really on the MACD and the RSI once again. And we've had some pretty strong moves down after this. So, this can easily reverse, but just based on, the nature of this weekly candle, sellers were definitely in full force throughout the week. And, it'll be interesting to see if we start to pull back any further and actually break down through this SMA 20. That looks very similar as it does on the SPY. Same candle as we had on the SPY as well with the raindrop, with the flip here. The volume then in the second half of the period here creating new lows, and we'll see if there's any follow through there into next week. The last candle that I'm looking at, or excuse me, the last chart that I'm looking at, and we're looking at the weekly and the daily candles as well, is the biotech ETF, which is XBI. And you can see here that I've got some horizontal lines here, and this is something that's brand new to the platform. And essentially anywhere that you want to draw a horizontal line, you can essentially just click, and it pops up. You can move it around. You can change the properties very easily as well by just increasing or decreasing the line stroke, changing the color. You can even label this. So if you want to say, double bottom question mark, and then it's set in stone, and you can even move this as well if you'd like. So if we did start to break down through this area, naturally I would look for this previous kind of pivot as the next area to possibly be tested. I can even go in and create an alert on this area as well, just by doing this. So I would do a breakthrough touch or a bounce, make the sensitivity maybe, it fires within about $1 of that line. So I can capture, if there's any reversal right before that area, and I'll have it set for 15 minutes. So that means anytime the 15-minute candle closes in that purple area, I'll be alerted. We'll do let's say wedge breakdown S1, 14 days have passed is the expiration, alerts created. So now if we do start to break down through this area next week, I'll be alerted once we test this area. What I also have on the daily raindrops here is also a wedge, or I would say kind of a symmetrical triangle area where I've got the alert on both the wedge and the resistance. So, the price has been trading within this range for quite a while, where whenever we break through to the downside or through to the upside, that's going to be significant, and that's something that I'm going to want to see when it happens. And so I'll be alerted anytime the price action breaks through this area. Last but not least, I did want to check out Bitcoin just to show you guys an example of how these alerts work. In this case, if we go to the daily here, you'll see we've had really three, well, we've had more than 3 alerts, but I had one alert. So essentially I created this chart last week when we had this really ugly candle, and I, just like anyone else, I had no idea where the price was going, but naturally, these were the trend lines below that I wanted to put alerts on. And so what I did was I just put an alert on each one, and as we broke down through these areas, I was getting alerts. And sometimes, with crypto, it's 24/7. I was getting these alerts at 2:30 in the morning, or at these random times where I wasn't at the computer to look at the chart, but the system was watching these areas for me. And it was interesting to see, finally, when we bottomed out a little below this area, we did have a strong move up. So this is really a system to help watch the charts for you, not to replace what you're doing, but do some of the grunt work and some of the staring that you don't necessarily have to do for hours, but you choose to anyways. The chart can do that for you. You can set these up for dynamic alerts sent to your phone or your email, so you'll be alerted anytime this stuff happens. You don't just have to stare at the chart all day to do that. And so that's an example of a real life example of these alerts going off last week. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. hello@trendspider.com is a way you can reach us. And we also are very responsive on our social accounts as well, just @TrendSpider. Just a quick note, we are not advisors or licensed broker dealers, anything like that. So please take this advice as just a way that you can utilize the platform on a day-to-day basis. These are some of the ways that I'm getting ready for the week into the weekend. This is Friday, so I really want to get ready for everything so I don't have to be doing this on Sunday night. And so now I just have the charts do the work for me into next week. And if something gets to a level that I think it's an area where I want to take a trade, I'll go in and make the trade. But it's really there to make your life easier, scale the whole process of trading and technical analysis, and add that value there. So thank you so much for listening into this video. And if you have any questions, again, please feel free to reach out. And we do have a free trial as well if you'd like to try out the system before really dedicating any further time to it. So thanks so much. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you soon.